Hello, I'm Jen. Welcome. This shorter practice will target the low back area for some stretching and a little strengthening, and also a little bit of gentle core work. Our core and our low back are partners. The more we strengthen our core, the more we support the low back. So, for this practice, you might like to have something like a pillow or two, especially if your low back has been feeling tender, just to give you some support underneath your knees if we're on the back, and maybe a block or two. None of these are required. It can be nice to have ways to bring the floor up to meet you or just a little extra support. Frida here will be joining us, but I can't guarantee that she'll do any of the poses that I cue. She's great at Shavasana. All right, go ahead and find just a comfortable seated position for a short period of time for a little bit of centering. Make any adjustments you need. You could certainly be sitting in a chair or up against a wall or piece of furniture. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. 2 more breaths just like that. And let's inhale for 1 Om. Give yourself a few moments here to find your way into your body, to feel your breath, and to be here for this time that you have set aside for your practice today. If you'd like for a moment to set an intention or offering or say a personal prayer, go right ahead. Good. Let's begin this practice on our backs with bent knees. If you prefer to have a little padding underneath the back of your head, of course, completely fine. We'll start with the feet flat on the mat, maybe about hip width distance apart. Make any little adjustments you need. Maybe you like to have your hands resting on your torso to maintain that connection to your breath. And we'll just start to find a little bit of mobility in the low back with the pelvic clock exercise. So you imagine that underneath, from about your belly button to your tailbone on your mat, is an imaginary clock, round analog clock. Underneath your belly button, down on the mat, is where the number 12 is. So let's start by pulling the belly button down and pressing the low back into that number 12. You may feel your tailbone sort of peel up a little. Then, underneath where your tailbone is the number 6 on that clock. So let's roll down towards the 6, and you may feel your low back pull up off of the mat. So just take a couple rounds of moving between the 12 and the 6, keeping the feet nice and relaxed. This is like a cat-cow, but we flipped our relationship to gravity here. Shoulders relaxed. Tucking and tilting in the pelvis. See if you can let it be like a massage for the sacrum and the low back as you move from 12 to 6. And then the next time you come to 12, let's pause there. And then we'll start to go around the clock. So begin to press into where the number 1 would be. So over to the left just a little bit. Relax that right hip. Relax your inner thighs. Relax your shoulders. And then press into the number 2. Your knees may move a little bit, but try not to let them go all the way. Relax the right hip. And then find the number 3 on your clock. And then let's roll all the way over to the right to the number 9. And then let's roll back over to the number 3. Try to press into the mat the whole way. And then let's go to the number 4. Press into the mat where the number 4 would be on your clock. And then the number 5, relax your shoulders. And then we're back to 6. And then let's roll up to 12 again. And roll back down to 6. And then go to 7. Relax your left hip and shoulders. Go to 8. Relax the toes. Go to 9. Soften. Roll over to 3. Roll back to 9. Press into where the 10 would be. And then the 11. And then back to 12. And you could roll from 12 to 6 again, and then take several breaths to move however you like on this clock. Maybe between 1 and 2 is a little stiff. Maybe you'd like to go from 3 to 9 to 3 again. A few breaths just to let your low back and the firm surface of the floor beneath you work together. And then let's find our way back to a neutral spine where very likely you could slide a pencil underneath your low back. There may be some space between your low back and the mat. That's okay. There may also be some space between your tailbone and the mat. So from a neutral spine, now we'll start to engage the deepest level of abdominal muscles. To do this, we'll start with knees in line with hips, and imagine balanced on your right knee is a scalding hot cup of tea on a saucer. We don't want to spill a drop of it. We don't want to get burned. So right leg stays really still. We start to slowly let the left knee come out to the left. Slowly. We don't want this right leg to move at all. And we're not just going to let the left knee flop out. And so at some point, you'll start to feel something in the middle of the torso that stops your right leg from moving. Those are the deep transverse abdominal muscles. And then you can engage those muscles a little bit in towards the midline of the body to help bring that left knee back up to center without moving the right one. So let's do the left knee a couple more times. It can take some practice to find it. Keep your jaw relaxed, keep breathing. Different bodies have to go to different degrees to feel it. No need to rush. There's no extra points for getting your knee to drop further faster. Because there's no points at all. There are no points at all. And then let's start to switch that hot tea over to the left knee and very slowly start to let the right knee move out to the right. Don't let the left hip move. Don't let the left leg move. That's really challenging. Put a hand on your left hip. Tuning into those deep abdominal muscles. They go horizontally across your torso, meeting at the midline in the front of the body. Do a couple rounds, slowly letting the right knee come out without the left knee moving. And then slowly bringing the right knee back in without moving the left knee. And then we'll let this be the last time. No rushing, don't spill that tea. Can let that go. And then you could hug your knees in towards your chest perhaps. Maybe roll across your back a bit. And then as you're ready, let's make our way over onto hands and knees. And we'll start to move through some cat-cow and the traditional relationship to gravity. So on an inhale, lift the tailbone, drop the belly, lift the gaze. On the exhale, tuck the tailbone, round the spine, tuck the chin. Keep going just like this. Go at the pace of your breath. Don't worry about the pace of mine. So we can take a few rounds just to check in with our range of motion today. And then you might start exploring some muscular engagement and stretching. So when you exhale, the abdominal muscles are engaging in, together, and up, and we're stretching the muscles along the spine. When we inhale, we're stretching the muscles of the abdominals to make room for all of that breath. And you can think about the muscles alongside the spine cinching up like drawstrings. So again, the front and the back are partners. When one is stretching, the other is engaging. Good. And then we'll let that go. Take your knees wide, sink back to an extended child's pose. You could certainly rest your forehead on a block here. You could certainly have a blanket or pillow between your thighs and calves if that helps make your knees a little more comfortable here. Now, you could let your arms just be comfortable. Maybe the elbows are bent. Maybe the arms are down beside you. If you'd like a little more active stretch, you could creep crawl your fingertips forward on your mat. Maybe press into the fingertips a little bit and then let your armpits sink downward as you imagine the tailbone reaching back down towards or between your heels. Now you could stay here for a few breaths. Maybe you'd like to come back for some cat-cow. Or you could start to switch between an extended child's pose and a plank on your knees. So I'll be moving through that if you'd like a visual for reference. We'll lift the torso. The knees have to come more underneath the hips. Shifting forward, hips drop a bit as the feet come up. And then we push the mat down and away as we sink the hips back towards the heels again. We try to maintain a pretty neutral spine the whole way through, which means we have to engage the core. Try not to lock into your elbows, slight bend in the elbows. That way we use muscles to hold our bodies up, not just bones stacking on bones. And make sure we're not letting the head hang and droop down below our chest. Ears stay in line with shoulders, back of the neck stays long. And then let's meet in a child's pose again. Maybe this time you'd like to turn your palms up. Maybe you'd like to move through your wrists and fingers. I like to do that after I've been weight bearing on the hands for a little bit. Maybe you exhale out the mouth. And then you could certainly stay here, or you can meet me back on hands and knees. Knees under hips, wrists under shoulders. You could modify by being on your knuckles, or if bearing weight on the wrist just doesn't work for you at all, you could experiment with something like blocks underneath your elbows and being on your elbows and forearms. We'll explore some targeted core work here. So if you think about cat and cow as being two ends of the spectrum of how your spine can move, try to find the place right in the middle, a neutral spine. There's a little inward curve in the low back. There's a little outward curve in the upper, but we're not exaggerating either of them. Ears are in line with shoulders. Gaze is straight down. Now, imagine that there is a platter of fruit balanced on your entire back. It's a gigantic platter of fruit, lots of stuff that will roll, like blueberries, strawberries, grapes. We don't want to spill any of it. Let's start to shift forward. Don't tilt, don't let any of that fruit fall. You might feel lower abdominals engage. Now start to shift back. Where do you feel your core working to keep your back flat? Come back through center. And then shift over to your right. Try not to tilt or lean. Just moving the back of the body through space. Come back through center. Shift over to the left. Can you feel your obliques, your side abdominals engaging to stabilize you here? Back through center. Start to make some sort of circular movement here. The size of your circle, how oval or round your circle is, completely individualized, but we're trying to keep that platter flat. Make sure you're breathing. Don't go so fast that you can't feel which parts of your core are working. Maybe switch direction. Breathing. Good, and then let's come back through center. The platter magically disappears to wherever the T went, and take a cat-cow here. And then let's let that go, and we'll find our way onto the back. Once again, we'll start with feet flat. Let's hug the right knee in, any amount in the direction of your torso. Shoulders relax. Now, if it would feel nice to extend your left leg to the floor, you could do that. But if that causes any kind of pinching in the low back, just bend that left knee again. And then let's switch, putting the right foot down. We'll hug the left knee in. You could certainly extend the right leg if that would feel nice for you. Shoulders relaxed. Deep breath in. Exhale. And then let's put both feet down on the mat, hip width distance apart. We'll take a really gentle twist, reclining here. Now, this is where you might like to use a block or pillows or blankets to decrease how much we're twisting in the lower back area. So if you would like to use something like that, you would have it over to the left side of your body, around where your knees are, so that when we drop our knees over to the left, they don't go all the way to the floor, but they're supported so they can relax. And then you could take your gaze over your right shoulder if that feels okay. You could keep hands on your torso. If it would feel nice to stretch your arms out long or do the mudra of compassion with bent elbows, you could certainly do that. Deep breath in. Exhale. Just take a few breaths here. And then we'll come back up through center. If you'd like to have that support under the knees over on the right side, you can bring your block or pillows over to the right side of the body. And then we'll let our knees go to the right and head turn to the left, whatever you like with your arms. Deep breath in. Exhale. And then we'll come back up through center. If you'd like one more time to hug your knees in, you could do that. And then we'll just take a short Shavasana. So if your low back is feeling really pinchy, you might like feet flat, wider than your hips, and knees coming into rest against one another. Or you could extend your legs long, or sort of in between, you could have some padding underneath your knees to give them a slight bend. Hands can rest on the torso or down beside you. You could certainly have something beneath the back of your head if you like. Deep breath in. Exhale. And allow your body to rest. Now, if you have time for a longer Shavasana, you could stay here or use one of my other Yoga Nidra videos. Otherwise, you could take a stretch here. Maybe hug your knees into your chest. Roll over to one side. If you like, finding your way up to sitting. Take a moment to notice any effects of the practice on your breathing, your body, or your mind. And then let's conclude with the Om Shanti 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 for peace. Inhale together. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May all beings everywhere be free from suffering. Thank you so much for taking time to take care of yourself and for sharing your practice with me. Om Shanti.